Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving into something absolutely wild today. We're going to connect the dots on how one single, seemingly normal corporate staffing change is literally sending shockwaves through global hardware prices and even international security. It is basically the butterfly effect, but playing out in real time right across the tech sector. We'll be walking through the brand new June 2026 Innovation Report, and I've got to say, I am so pumped to unpack this with you. It is easily one of the most fascinating chain reactions we've seen all decade.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're zooming all the way out from some micro-level corporate talent drama to macro-level geopolitics. We've got four main stops: the frontier talent war, the battle for AI coding, the great infrastructure crunch, and finally, global shifts and security. Let's get right into it.
All right, part one, the frontier talent war. We really have to start with the human element here because this was the spark that ignited the whole industry-wide ripple effect. To really grasp the massive global shifts happening right now, you have to look at Google, because they just lost the foundational spine of their historic AlphaFold team. And they didn't just leave, right? They defected straight to Google's chief rival, Anthropic. We're talking about Nobel laureate John Jumper, along with core heavy hitters like Alexander Pritzel, Jonas Adler, and Arthur Konami. In the incredibly cutthroat world of frontier AI, human talent is without a doubt the ultimate bottleneck. Losing these four specific minds, that is a monumental paradigm shift for the whole industry.
And the immediate market fallout? Just staggering! Over $270 billion in Alphabet's market value completely vanished, wiped out in just one chaotic week. I mean, it perfectly illustrates just how insanely fragile this AI arms race actually is. The perceived value of these massive megacorporations is deeply, deeply tied to a shockingly small handful of top-tier engineering minds.
Internally at Google, the fallout has been incredibly severe. This disruption actually forced them to officially delay their highly anticipated Gemini 3.5 Pro rollout until July. Now, they cited final adjustments, but the reality? They're scrambling. They're actively restructuring and rapidly expanding what they're calling dedicated engineering strike teams. Basically, they're doing whatever it takes to bridge the massive talent gap in their foundational architectures left by those high-profile exits.
Moving on to part two, battle for AI coding. Let's see how this massive talent grab builds Anthropic's dominance in a very specific, super lucrative market.
This exact dynamic illustrates exactly why Anthropic is going so hard after top-tier talent. The generative AI coding market has absolutely skyrocketed to a staggering $9.3 billion globally. And this boom? It's being fueled by enterprise clients who are just running as fast as they can away from single-vendor lock-ins. Right now, Anthropic's Claude Code commands a massive 40% of this entire space. They are nearly doubling OpenAI's Codex, which is sitting at just 21%. When you dominate a $9 billion market like that, well, you've got the leverage and the war chest to go out and poach a Nobel laureate from Google.
But, OpenAI isn't just sitting around letting Anthropic eat their lunch. To fight back, they've actually confirmed they're actively running target workloads at production frequency on engineering samples of a highly anticipated update. Internally, they're calling it the Jalapeno update, testing a GPT-5 variant specifically named Codex Spark. They are pushing hard for a deep technical evaluation soon, and they're targeting a full-scale deployment by late 2026 to try and claw back that market share. That brings us to part three, the great infrastructure crunch. So the really crucial point here is that all these warring frontier models, Claude, Gemini, Codex, Spark, they all require a massive, massive amount of physical hardware. I mean, you can't just code intelligence out of thin air, right?
And this is where the digital AI race slams headfirst into a very physical reality, a severe global shortage of high-bandwidth memory chips. This is the essential physical storage you actually need to train these massive models. The surging demand to power all these data centers has stretched global supply lines to the absolute breaking point. It's a classic bottleneck. The software is simply evolving way faster than the hardware could even be manufactured.
So how is the industry handling this? Well, you've got three very different companies reacting to this exact same memory crunch in completely different ways. First up, Apple. Their solution? Kind of what you'd expect. Pass the cost right on to the consumer. They've had to hike MacBook and iPad retail prices by up to 20% just to absorb these soaring component costs. Then you have Samsung, who is taking the heavy industry route. They are unleashing a monumental $648 billion investment. Yeah, that's 1,000 trillion won. The goal is to dramatically accelerate South Korea's domestic capacity for chips, AI data centers, and advanced batteries over the next decade. And finally, you've got Sail, which is an infrastructure startup. Instead of building new chips, they just raised $80 million to optimize software so AI models can run faster on the chips that are already out there in the market. 3 totally different strategies trying to solve the exact same massive bottleneck.
Which leads us to part 4, global shifts and security. Finally, let's zoom out to the global stage and look at how these exact bottlenecks and talent wars are actually dividing nations and fundamentally shaping international policy. We are seeing a critical divergence in the global AI landscape right now. While US firms are basically bleeding money, battling over expensive frontier supremacy and really high-cost custom silicon, Chinese firms have completely pivoted their strategy. Actually, scratch that. They aren't just pivoting, they're playing a completely different game. They're moving away from chasing the absolute cutting edge. Instead, they're quietly capturing massive global market share by offering good enough, highly efficient open-source models at just a fraction of the cost. They are prioritizing aggressive global adoption over winning benchmark tests. It is literally a classic tortoise and a hare scenario playing out in the global tech markets.
Meanwhile, over in Europe, they are charting a third, totally distinct path. Rather than getting into a pricing war or a pure capabilities war, they are choosing to double down on security and regulation. European security vendor Wallix has partnered with the French research institute INRIA. Together, they're building an alliance to develop trusted AI systems that are focused 100% on identity, behavioral analytics, and automated access governance. In plain English, they are building systems to tightly track and control exactly what these AI agents are doing out in the wild. Their ultimate goal is to lock down the rising machine identity threats caused by this entire global AI explosion.
And that brings us to the end of today's explainer. Man, it leaves us with quite a bit to digest, doesn't it? We've traced this incredible path from 4 brilliant scientists leaving their desks at Google to a $270 billion market crash, to a 20% price hike on your next MacBook, all the way out to shifting strategies among global superpowers. This whole interconnected ecosystem leaves us with one really vital, provocative question to ponder. As this arms race strains our top talent, strains our physical hardware, and fundamentally divides national strategies, who actually wins in the end? Think about that, and definitely keep your eyes on the data. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this helped connect the dots for you today.